Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented by Betway. I'm your host, Adam Peddle, and to my left, the other host, Nicholas Paleolog. How you doing this morning, Nick?
Yeah, I'll be honest, guys. I'm feeling it a little. The boys got after it yesterday. Incredible scramble round that we had
amazing
on the
scramble
golf
round.
course. All right, scramble round. If you're not familiar with what a scramble round is, I mean, it's everybody playing the best ball, and we all have one cumulative score. And
on the
wow,
golf course.
I mean, we felt pretty good. So obviously, the boys got a little liquored up after. We're recording in the AM, so I am feeling the effects a bit.
I am too.
But I am excited to talk some ball because we just saw the trade deadline transpire, right? We saw some teams go out and get after it, you know, just like we did yesterday. We also saw some teams not do a whole lot, right? So I think we want to talk a little bit about the winners, talk about the losers, talk about what this means for the next upcoming 2 months baseball before the postseason. And yeah, man, this is an exciting time because it really is. It feels like you're entering the final stretch before the postseason, which is always exciting. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I'm also, I'm going to comment. I'm feeling the effects this morning. You know, 6 hours of sleep, especially I know you got up and worked on some videos and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so it's like, you know, we're here, though. We're talking some ball. I'm sure everybody knows what it's like when you wake up and you go to work and you're a little bit hungover, but you don't really tell anybody. But here we are telling all y'all.
Yeah.
We're telling all y'all.
Yeah. No secrets here,
No
everybody.
secrets.
No secrets
No
here.
secrets. So let's get right
dive
into it,
straight
man.
into it, dude.
Let's go.
I want to talk about obviously the trade deadline as a whole because that's just what happened.
I think we're gonna go through like so many teams.
Well, I know that you have
teams.
this beautiful graph where it's like the prospects brought in, prospects sent away type thing. Let's start with
the highlights.
Yeah, the highlights here.
The general highlights, right? You got teams. Well, I mean, what are the trading pieces at the deadline? Obviously, you're looking for prospects. If you are a seller, you're looking to give away your prospects if you are a buyer. So you can really get a good indication of who's a buyer, who's a seller, who's a retooler, and all that kind of stuff. So the heavy sellers who got the prospects, Miami Marlins sold the most prospects with 14.
Or brought in the most prospects.
Brought in the prospects. They sold away their guys, brought in 14 prospects, and then you had the Tampa Bay Rays bringing in 13 new prospects, and then the Toronto Blue Jays bringing in 12. Those were the top sellers at the deadline. Any surprise here? I mean, Miami Marlins, man, it feels like they continue to sell. This is one of their biggest selling years, of course, but they always continue to sell at the deadline, man.
And
it's like they never get out of it.
No. They're in this cyclical thing where, you know, they'll sell off all these guys. They'll get this big return. And then, you know, they're quiet. They'll be bad for a couple of years. And, would you look at that? You know, some of these prospects that they traded for start to do pretty good.
And then
maybe we have a bit of, a foundation. Nope. And
let's sell it again.
Yeah, let's sell it again. And
when do you stop?
Start the cycle.
When do you stop?
Well, I mean, okay, you stop when you start winning more games than they do, because they just can't seem to put together a winning season, which is like, I think, honestly, just a problem internally with just everything, you know, because was it Derek Jeter that was associated with the Marlins?
Then he pieced out.
And then he bailed because he was saying, it's like, guys, we got a fucking incredible pitching staff right here. Why are we not going out and getting hitters? And they're like, no, let's keep with the cycle and sell in a year or two, you know?
You know what's wild is they literally made the playoffs last year. They literally made the playoffs.
Fuck me.
And then they go out this offseason, do dick all, and instead of trying to compete in the first month, they go, you know what? We're abandoning ship. Padres, take Luis Arias. Take him away, because we forgot all about that. That's not even included on this list here. But, like, that's ridiculous. You trade away Jazz. You trade away Tanner Scott. I didn't realize how many good relievers the Miami Marlins had. They trade them all away. You trade away Trevor Richards. Like, holy crap, guys. When are you ever going to commit? Maybe it's money, or do they not have any money? That's probably it.
But it's got to
the ownership's not committing anything to this friggin' team.
No, you're definitely not making enough of a commitment. And when you send away players like a Jazz Chisholm Jr., like a Tanner Scott, a Brian De La Cruz, a Trevor Rogers. I mean, like, there were so many players that left the Miami Marlins. An entire
with lots of years of control.
Yeah. Yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, I mean, you're bringing in a bunch of prospects, and to their credit, they played the seller's role very well. I mean,
Yes.
fuck, they should know how to do it now, right? And they definitely did, right? You bring in Connor Norby, top prospect there over in Baltimore. Now he's in Miami. That's a really good one. You got Robbie Snelling, that was from the Padres. Adam Mazur, also from the Padres. I mean, like the list goes on and on and on here, right? Their whole farm system now is completely restocked. So in that regard, yeah, they did an incredible job at being a seller. But again, to your point, eventually you got to translate this into winning some fucking baseball games.
I thought they were there. You know, like they were last year. I was like, oh, the Miami Marlins were there,
starting to, you know.
Yeah, the next step is to go add some free agents. And I mean, look, again, it's got to be the ownership not giving them enough of a payroll, because what player wouldn't want to go play for Miami? Lots of players are American and from the Florida area.
Right.
Why not, like just like in California, why not go and establish a base down there in Miami? It's a beautiful city. It's a fun city. Why are we not trying to go and compete? Where's the funding? I don't know. I think that at some point, and hopefully it's this next wave with Stowers and all these guys like Norby, like you're saying, and Snelling, they gotta establish a new regime of like core guys, and hopefully that will be the guys that will convince them that they can buy in again.
Yeah, because I mean, again, like, you know, I do certainly hear what you're saying in terms of when are we going to win? When is it going to be the time? However, when you look at what they did this season, right, like going over just to the standings right now, where the hell are they? Bad. 40 and 68 at the time of recording this podcast.
Yeah,
so, I mean, what else would you do, right? I feel like selling was the right move here.
Right. Because they didn't do anything this offseason. And then they traded away Arias like week 2 or 3 or some shit like that. It was like
a weird one, actually.
Yeah, they just committed to the tank early. It was like, what? Like, are we not trying? We just made playoffs last year's guys. You know? I don't know. Anyways, but like, they got to turn around at some point.
So
Also,
biggest loser, but also kind of a big winner as well. You know,
for me, they're the biggest winner of all the sellers because they did get so much in return and great prospects in return as well. Right. Looking while we're on that train of big sellers, you have the Tampa Bay Rays that also got 13 prospects.
Yeah,
Rays they're different though. Maybe they're the same. Both Florida teams that maybe don't have a lot of funding, but Tampa Bay even more so, where it's just their nature where we just can't afford your arbitration anymore.
Right. And
we're at the point where, okay, we clearly aren't going to be competitive this year. It's a cold-blooded, heartless business decision down there in Tampa Bay or the Trop, where they just absolutely sell everybody as soon as they're gone, and they get their prospects and they want to go and compete down the line. But I feel like for them, they won't take too long to bounce back because they have the pitching staff coming back for them next year. You know, McClanahan's going to be back from Tommy John next year. Baz will be with them next year. And it feels like they're going to be at least good on the pitching side of things, kind of like Miami, but they just got to go and develop the hitters a little bit more. And then once they have that, then they're good enough to win, which is funny. It's like, why does it work for Tampa Bay and it doesn't work for Miami? Analytics.
Well, clearly they just have a better organization overall, man. I do wonder about those Florida teams. Like, why is it that you don't have any funding? Like, why? Like, you were just saying, I mean, there's a lot of players that come from Florida. You know, there's a lot of sports lovers in Florida. I mean, the football teams in Florida do pretty good. You have multiple teams in the state of Florida. Yeah. So why is you having no fun? I was just looking at like over at the populations here because I was like, maybe like is no one fucking populated here? I mean, no. I mean, like they both have like pretty solid populations as far as American cities go. I don't know if you guys have any indication as to why these people just don't have any money. Let us know because it is confusing me.
It's a big part of baseball, man. So. I mean, Tampa Bay Rays, they're one of the biggest winners. I mean, on the ESPN article, they're literally saying, I was seriously considering naming them the biggest winner. But, I mean, they even the Isaac Paredes trade where they go and they get Christopher Morale, it's like that's a good trade for a guy who's like only a year removed from having an 800 OPS. And he's still young, lots of control. So, I mean, that's a smart decision for just, like, reversing the clock a little bit on that Thursday.
And they'll make him good. That's the thing. They'll make him great because that is what the Tampa Bay Rays do. I mean, similarly to the Rays as well, you're wearing the Buffalo Blue Jays shirt because, honestly, there's going to be so many Buffalo Blue Jays that are going to be up with the squad right now because Toronto, they went out, they got after it, man. Ross Atkins had a little bit of a renaissance tour right here. Just sent away anybody with a 1 year, even a couple guys with controllable years too, just sent them away. They got a shitload of prospects in, 8 entering into their top 30, I think 12 overall. So, I mean, I feel like, obviously, Blue Jays fans, this is the bias coming in. Would I have liked us to be in a situation where the Toronto Blue Jays are buying? Of course. That is not the reality of the situation, and you got to play the seller role. And did they do it at the same caliber of Tampa Bay or Miami? Maybe not, but they came pretty close, I'd say.
Yeah, it's exactly what they should have done, right? They saw the writing on the wall, and they sold off the team. And I'm trying to find the Angels and how much they actually sold. Oh, yeah. So here's the thing. Angels, right, very similar record to the Toronto Blue Jays at this point. Both know they're not competing. But the Angels, they had a lot of pieces, too, just like the Toronto Blue Jays, and they only got 6 prospects in return. So it's okay,
right.
Not bad. I wouldn't say they had I still think they could have done a lot more. I wouldn't say they're the biggest losers, but probably a little bit of a loser in my mind because you still have a lot of guys who are going to be free agent, like Kevin Pillar.
Yeah.
He's going to be a free agent. You have Louis Rengifo. You have Taylor Ward. Why aren't we? They sold a few of their pitchers, but you have so much more guys to sell. It was a seller's market, and you didn't do enough. So for the Blue Jays, for a very similar record and a team that has a lot of pieces, they did it right. They did it right, and I give credit.
Talking about the Angels, I really think that there's just a cancer over there with whoever runs the team, the management. I mean, this is something that never gets talked about anymore because it just we all just accepted that it was happening. But remember when they had the opportunity to either extend or trade Shohei Ohtani and did neither one of those fucking things? That is a gross mismanagement of the Shohei Ohtani situation. You're dealing with the best player ever, and you get nothing. No, you don't keep him. You don't trade him. You do nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think we talk about just how bad that was.
I mean, granted, maybe they were trying to soak in as much dollar advertisement attention as much as possible.
That's bad.
And I hear you. I was trying to play devil's advocate. I still think it's bad. But I mean, you brought the comparison to the Blue Jays. The Jays have not as great as a Shohei Ohtani, but coming into next year. I think you just made a video talking about Ross Atkins, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Ross Atkins, the GM of the Toronto Blue Jays, not really confident about an extension right now into the offseason. And he thinks that, we're going to wait until, next offseason when he's a free agent.
With Guerrero.
That is a mismanagement. That's kind of very eerily similar. It's what are you doing?
Well, that's the thing,
man. You trade him or sign him? What are you doing?
If you end up doing what the LA Angels did with Shohei Ohtani, that is straight to jail for me. Whoever was in charge of that decision, straight to prison. Throw away the key. You've sent our franchise into a disarray right now because you just can't do that. It's one or the other. When you have somebody of that caliber, of a Shohei Ohtani or Guerrero, whatever, and they're on an expiring contract or getting close to it, it is a trade or it is an extension. It is not a, we ride it out and then whatever, unless, of course, you can win the World Series in that final fucking year. And then fine, but clearly that is not what's happening.
Because that's why you need to have conversations for years. I know they've been having conversations with Guerrero, but for the Angels side of things, correct me if I'm wrong, but felt like they weren't having too many conversations about extensions because you need to figure out what is the dollar amount that he's looking for. Because he got $700 million.
Right.
If he is looking at that and you're like, well, we actually cannot pay you that, then you trade him.
You got to send him away.
You send him away, and you would, oh my God, last year wasn't as big as a seller's market, but you would have got so much for a 2-month rental of Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, yeah. And then that's the thing, a 2-month rental and then the opportunity to sign him to an extension, right? So,
oh, my God.
Again, a gross mismanagement of the entire situation. But let's move on and talk about some of the actual exciting teams, not the guys who are trading away but are buying right now.
Yeah.
Because, at the end of the day, those are going to be the real winners.
Why don't we talk about the team that Ohtani's on right now?
LA Dodgers?
The LA Dodgers.
Okay, all right.
This ESPN article has them as the biggest winner, and I think there's a case right there. They got Jack Flaherty, arguably the number one pitcher that was moved at this deadline.
Yeah, I think so. I don't even think it's arguable. I think it just is. You know?
Considering Crochet didn't get moved, Skubal didn't get moved, Flaherty is the biggest guy. Tommy Edman, it's an interesting pickup grab. I would love to look at his stats in a little moment. Alvin Rosario, they got their shortstop that they needed. They were kind of talking about that with Bo Bichette on this show. Didn't happen, of course, because he's injured. Michael Kopech, another great arm. And then Kevin Kiermaier as their, and we love to talk about this on our show, you know, he's their position player closer. I'm going to come steal a bag and then play center field, and we're going to close this one out.
I mean, that is all he is. And, you know, when you're the LA Dodgers and you have a lineup like they do, Kevin Kiermaier should never see the field, like literally like ever, until you are up by 3 in the 9th and you're just playing to save the game and get the strong defense, because he still does have that. Kevin Kiermaier still does have that, right? But across the board, I mean, the Dodgers, they do what the Dodgers do, which is go out and get who they want and you know, address the needs quickly. Like, the management for the LA Dodgers, obviously they have the most money, and, you know, they're in probably the coolest city that you could go to, or one of them at least, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of pros going their way, but you can't discredit what the management does consistently, right? The philosophy there is we go fucking after it, boys. You know, I don't care how liquored up we're gonna be in the AM. You know, like we're going after it, and we're getting this done.
We're waking
and
up
they
at 6 a.m.
You know, they absolutely do. So credit to the Dodgers. I mean, obviously moving forward, this was always going to be the case, but this is at minimum an NLCS team, and frankly, if they don't make it into the World Series, I think that is a loss for them. Like, it's a World Series or bust at this point. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I was actually just looking at Tommy Edman while you were talking there. He's not even playing this year.
Interesting.
Someone tell me, is he hurt? I tried looking up too, but it's obviously flooded with just like trade news. Not even playing this year, but he's got I think years of control. And then you look at Alvin Rosario, above average bat this year.
Yeah.
And that's again their shortstop need. Michael Kopech, the closer over on the White Sox, but not having a great year either. I mean, a 4.63 ERA, WHIP of 1.3. I mean, it's
they'll figure him out, and they'll
change him. And then obviously Jack Flaherty is the big piece. So I don't know. It's arguable. You were kind of doing one of these when ESPN was saying they're the biggest winner. Do you have another kind of bigger winner in your mind?
I'll be honest, like I was kind of underwhelmed by the buyers this year, because there wasn't anybody who went extremely crazy. Like, I do think that LA did a good job here. I liked a lot of what I saw from the Seattle Mariners. They did. Literally a week ago, folks, on this very podcast, I went on some fucking 10-minute long rant, you know, screaming about how the Mariners, they have the, you know, greatest pitching in MLB, which is true right now. They do. Greatest pitching in MLB. Go out, buy, you know, like you can't let a season like this pass you by. And they did, right? They get Randy Arozarena. They get another pitcher. They bring in some guys. So I really liked what I saw from the Seattle Mariners. They did not sit idly by and just let this division, you know, run away from them. So I like it.
They tried to save their season, right? You mentioned Rosarena, Justin Turner as a DH bat. Like, that's got to be like their second or third best hitter right there.
It is.
Which is funny to
Crazy.
say that. Jimmy Garcia, as we know, very very good pitcher. JT Chargois, or Chargois, or however you say his name, very good. And Andres Munoz. Bridge those. Sorry, excuse me. They're gonna bridge those innings between Andres Munoz. They highlighted his name. He's already on the effing team. I don't know why they said that, but I mean, they went out and they added. And I mentioned too in yesterday or last week's podcast that they needed to like get even more bats. I still think they could have got more. However, you brought up you're saying like no one really went crazy. I think no one really went crazy because it's like. Because it was such a seller's market, and like it's hard to go crazy when there's not much being sold. But if they went and tried to talk to the LA Angels and convince them, like, give me Rengifo, give me anybody. The Blue Jays sold IKF unexpectedly. Rengifo's out there, Kevin Pillar's out there. Like, go out of all these little guys. Yes, they'll still cost you, but if you're really trying to turn it all around, I feel like you needed to do just a tad bit more.
Well, okay. I agree. I mean, like, at the end of the day, more is always better.
Right.
But I do think that, you got to give them credit in a market that was so seller heavy. Like, at the end of the day, I think you could make a strong argument that Randy Arozarena was the best bat that was traded.
Yeah. Other than Jazz.
But that's an argument, right?
Yeah.
Randy could be a better hitter than Jazz Chisholm Jr., right? I mean, like, legitimate argument that they went out and they got the best available guy. So, I mean, from that standpoint, there just wasn't a whole lot of hitters that were out there and getting moved, you know?
No, there wasn't. I mean, yeah, literally thinking about it, I think the best OPS guy was Jazz at the time of trade, or Randy. I know Jazz has been inflated lately, but no, you're right. You're right, and I can't really fault them either. Well, why don't we talk about the New York Yankees as well? Speaking of Jazz, Jazz is going nuts. Ever since getting traded to the Yankees, so obviously the Yankees got Jazz. They got Mark Leiter, which boosted the bullpen, and I don't really see. Did they get anybody else? Is that it?
Like they were kind of quiet, man. I'll be honest. I'm disappointed with what I saw from the New York Yankees. Now, as a Blue Jays fan, I'm over the moon about it because I think they're not going anywhere. I think that there was so many inherent problems with that team, and if you're the New York Yankees, you are the LA Dodgers of the American League. Your role is to go out and get everything. And don't get me wrong, Jazz Chisholm Jr., great ad. Leiter, great ad. But there's so many issues going on right there in New York. That, yes, Jazz Chisholm Jr. is playing very, very good. I know that we want to talk a bit about that. But I just felt like there was more that you needed to accomplish if you're the New York Yankees here. I mean, you held on to your top prospects, which, fans can hold on to.
Right.
But right now, there are other teams in that American League that I just like better. I don't
100%.
Let me ask you right now, actually. If you had to bet your life on it, who was going to go further, Houston Astros or the New York Yankees this year?
If I had to bet my life on it?
That's right.
I
know where I'm going.
Further in the playoffs.
That's correct. Further in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I have to go just Houston because of recency. I mean, they're up, Yankees going down, and they didn't address the pitching at all, like the starting pitching. Leiter's great, but that's just one guy. I really do like the Chisholm ad because they have him for control, and it's like, okay, that's an actual guy that you can put, like a good player you can put in your lineup, plug in, and forget about every single day, which they have been struggling to find.
No. Don't get me wrong. The Jazz Chisholm Jr. thing is great, and I mean, what are his numbers since he got to New York? I mean, it's only been like 3 or 4 games.
Four games. He's got 4 home runs, 8 RBIs. Obviously, his OPS is like 1.4.
Right.
It's been amazing. And
okay, well let's have a big overreaction here then. 4 games in, overreaction. There is such a fucking cancer in Miami. Okay?
Oh yeah,
I think I said actually. I think literally on this show I was saying the second that Jazz Chisholm gets moved, he's gonna
anywhere
pop off. He's gonna go crazy.
Well, he mentioned he's like his first game when he hit a home run. He's like, I like the lights. I like it, and he is that kind of player that likes the lights. But like, do we think that is this true? Like, is this just like we got adrenaline, we got some extra focus, we're just hitting a hot stretch? And then, like, eventually, I'm gonna fall back to earth.
I don't think I don't think he's gonna hit 162 home runs in a season because that's what he's on pace for in this 4-game stretch. But I do think that he will have a resurgence in New York. I really do. I mean, again, hitter-friendly ballpark, and he does like the lights. And I do think that the mentality over there in New York is it's a winning one, and it's not. They just don't have that in Miami. So I certainly think he's going to be better. He's not going to be this good because this is freaking Barry Bonds. It's better than Barry Bonds. This is incredible. But I think that he will be a very solid hitter for them moving forward.
And I'll be interested to see what he does when he does have his like 0 for 26 stretch or 1 for 26, whatever it is.
How do you bounce back? Are you resilient?
Because in Miami, you go 0 for 26, no one gives a shit. You go 0 for 26 in New York, you're on the cover of the magazine the next day.
Coming out.
You're like, oh, fraud alert, and everyone's gonna come after you. How are you gonna handle that? Like right now, he's probably feeling like he's on top of the fucking world.
He's king, dude.
He's the king of the world. I'm saving New York. We're gonna bounce back. We're gonna kick ass with me. But you also, how are you gonna handle the downside? Because we know how ruthless it is in New York.
Oh yeah,
we were there.
I mean they will go after you, man. They don't care who you are, what your name is. There is a line, and eventually, if you cross that line, the New York fans will go nuts.
Side story about New York, man. I'll never forget when we watched that game in New York, Blue Jays versus Yankees on a Sunday, and Aaron Hicks was in center field,
my God.
and Witt Merrifield hit a line drive out to center field. It's at the wall. It's off the top of Hicks's glove. It goes over the wall for a home run.
He showed up with an assist, man.
Yeah.
Like somebody else gets the out there. Maybe an average player ends up with a double.
Right.
Aaron Hicks fucking pops that thing up and gives Whit Merrifield the assist for a homer.
And to give a bit of context to this, pre-game when they were announcing lineups, people were booing the shit out of Aaron Hicks, and then he does that, and there was this old Bronx guy right behind us, and he was like, "Come on, like fuck you, Hicks." When that happened, the whole stadium was going crazy. So, not saying Jazz is Aaron Hicks, but that's the extent.
Well, you know
Yankee
what, man?
fans.
I never. I'm not one to kind of root on people booing their own team, but right now, Aaron Hicks. I wasn't even sure if he was still in the league. I just looked him up.
Is he still in the league?
Well, he might have been cut. I'm not sure like how recent these numbers are, but this season he's got a -0.8 WAR with the LA Angels.
Oh goodness!
He batted 140 in 57 at bats. He's got an OPS plus of 18, and the last game that he played in, let me just see, he might even be out of the league. Yeah. So okay, April 28th was the last game that he played in. So I imagine that they must have cut him.
Yeah, he's not even on a team right now.
Terrible.
Yep.
Wow, Aaron Hicks fell off hard, man.
Yeah, what a weird player.
Strange
what a
career.
weird player.
Strange career, but we are getting off topic a little bit, though. At the end of the day, New York could have done more. Jazz, still a good ad. So, I mean, I don't know if I wouldn't necessarily say that they are the team to beat right now. You know?
Yeah, no, of course not. I mean, what is their last little bit, New York? They're 6-4, so Jazz kind of brought some life back into them, but that's what they need. They need a little bit of life back in them. They're only half a game out of the lead for the AL East.
I know,
so
man.
they're right there.
Baltimore is going to need to turn it on.
Baltimore went on a bit of stretch, but thankfully they played our Toronto Blue Jays and they beat them 3 out of 4 games. So they needed that.
That'll be a nice juicy. Actually, honestly, like whoever plays the Toronto Blue Jays more, New York or Baltimore moving forward, you win the division. I'm going to say that right now.
I think they're equal. I think we face them pretty equal down the stretch.
Okay, all right.
All right. Well, they got opportunities. No
advantage there by either squad, but I mean, in the American League, looking over, dude. Speaking of just overall squads to beat. Now that we are in this final stretch of baseball, I really am looking at the Houston Astros, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this feels. I feel like I've seen this movie before, even though they are only 56 and 52, which is okay. But I feel like I've seen this movie before. They will find a way. I also think that we're not giving nearly enough love to honestly the Kansas City Royals, who have a +82 run differential, which is
buddy. I love the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah,
I've been all over them this year. I've been they're kind of like them and Pittsburgh are like my favorite teams right now to watch because they're budding teams, right, with some superstars, and I always love those stories. So they're amazing. Like you mentioned, they're 60-49. They had a great trade deadline. Like I don't think that's getting enough attention really. I mean, they add Lucas Urseg. Remember that on the trade deadline day. Let's see. They also got Hunter Harvey very early. Who else did they get? They picked up Paul DeYoung. That's a sneaky little grab right there. Who else did they get? He goes. I think that was kind of it, but just little sneaky little ads. They need to help a little bit. Their pitching staff has been phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're kind of like the Toronto Blue Jays right now. Last year, where it's we just all our guys are healthy, pretty much. A couple injuries here and there, but we've only had 6 or 7 pitchers just pitch for us all year long.
However, different than the Toronto Blue Jays last year, they do have a serious MVP candidate right now. Let's play a little game action. This will make for a great clip, okay? We talked about this the other day. American League MVP, there is right now, I guess you could say that there's 3. There's 3 players who are locked in and so heads and tails above everyone else. However, I think that it is closer to being 2, and those 2 players are Aaron Judge and Bobby Witt Jr. right now. Let's have a little debate right here.
Yeah.
I'll play Bobby Witt Jr. You play Aaron Judge.
Because I'm going Aaron Judge.
Argue to me why Aaron Judge is the MVP over a Bobby Witt Jr.
Easy. He's the best hitter in the whole MLB. Easy. He's got an OPS plus of 214, OPS of 1.1, on base of 447. He's the best hitter. He's got 39 home runs. He's got already 99 RBIs. He has the most RBIs in the league. Most home runs in the league. He leads league in on base, leads league in slugging, leads league in OPS, leads league in total bases. He's the best hitter by a mile, and he should be the MVP.
So I hear you. I don't know if it's a mile though. I don't know if it's a mile because looking over at Bobby Witt Jr. and again, You know, if I really had to put money on it, I might say Aaron Judge is MVP. However, I mean, there is a strong argument to be made here. Bobby Witt Jr. is batting .349, which leads all of baseball right now. Leads all of baseball. Most hits, most runs scored, 91 runs, 91 times. He has come around the base paths for the Kansas City Royals, so he is scoring, and he's scoring aplenty right now. He has got 24 stolen bags. So he's making shit happen right now. He's getting on base, and he's making stuff happen. And on top of that, 76 ribbies. That isn't even factoring in the fact that he's got an OPS of .992, has played every single game, never been injured, never been hurt, 109 games, every
Judge
single
108.
game. Well, that's one less.
Well, maybe they've played one less.
That's one less. And this, for me, is like, if there is to be an argument as to why Bobby Witt should be MVP over Aaron Judge, this is where it is for me because, again, probably Aaron Judge is a better hitter. You know, however, again, Bobby Witt, no
He's
scrub.
Still a great hitter, and I can't deny.
Scrub.
Yeah.
100 percentile in outs above average.
Yeah, great defender.
100 percentile. Like, this could be a platinum glove winner.
He could be,
at the short. And it's not an easy position. This is a shortstop right here.
Right.
And he literally could win the platinum glove on top of having an OPS of almost 1,000.
Well, here's the thing. I'll say this. Baseball Reference WAR, even though he's got a platinum glove, Bobby Witt, he's got a WAR of 7, which is phenomenal. Fucking phenomenal. Aaron Judge has got a WAR of 7.5. So he's got half a WAR better.
Make-believe numbers.
See, you don't believe in WAR at all.
Listen, okay, here's the big problem with WAR for me, everybody. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about just WAR in general. But what fucking pisses me off is I was looking at this the other day where it's talking about, like, the best hitters in the past whatever years. I forget what it was now. And they were looking at all the guys, and they had the WAR from Baseball Reference, and then they also had the WAR from I think it was Fangraphs or something like that.
And they're very different. Yeah,
they're incredibly different. But what's wild is that like there was no no through line to it in the sense of okay, well if you have Bobby Witt Jr. as a 7. And then, you have, like the Fangraphs would have him as a 3 or something, let's just say. Well, then the next player, like a Juan Soto,
would be down.
They'd have, like, let's say, Baseball Reference has him at a 6, but then Fangraphs has him at, like, an 8. And it's like, well, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this doesn't make any sense. So
I know.
I like looking at WAR because, it is a fun stat to look at. However, when you have so many different algorithms and so many different outlets telling you different things, I just find it extremely hard to give it that much weight.
So I looked up the difference between Fangraphs and Baseball Reference WAR. Fangraphs uses a statistic called ultimate zone rating. Take that what you will. And while Baseball Reference uses a stat called defensive run save. We know that one. Which is I think I don't know what the fuck the ultimate zone rating is. I don't even fucking know.
That doesn't even sound like a real thing.
Honestly, I hate, maybe it's my opinion, I hate Fangraphs WAR. Because you're right, it doesn't make any fucking sense. The only thing that makes sense is like Baseball Reference is, for me, it feels like the most accurate. Like it does, because defensive run saves is very easy. How many runs did you save with your defense? This. Okay, we factor that in. What the fuck is ultimate zone rating?
Ultimate zone
Can anyone
rating.
tell me what the fuck that is?
Fangraphs could, but they won't because it's confusing as all holy hell.
I gotta look this up. But I hear your point. I do think, look, Bobby Witt Jr. is great. He might be MVP too. There's also Juan Soto. We're not even talking about how great
we're not
Juan
talking
Soto.
about great
He's got a 6.6 WAR. Either way, that's your top 3 in the MVP race in the American League, and then probably Jordan's in 4 or 5.
Somewhere
in
there, guys.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments down below. Who do you have for MVP? I mean, if I really am being completely honest, probably I give it to Aaron Judge. However, when we're talking about a platinum glove winner potentially, and then also what he's doing, on the hitting side of things, Bobby Witt has a strong argument.
Okay, so this is ultimate zone rating, and this kind of just feels like defensive run save, but it's a saber metric used to measure fielding. It compares the event that actually happened to data on similarly hit balls in the past to determine how much better or worse the fielder did than the average player.
Make believe.
Isn't that exactly what defensive run saved is?
I don't know, man. Like, listen.
It just seems silly. Like, you're we're basing what you did just now based on past. I don't fucking know what the fuck that means.
Exactly. And that's why, for me, okay, fine, WAR's fun to look at and everything like that. However, at the end of the day, I want to see what you've done on the field.
Yeah.
Show me your batting average. Show me your OPS.
Well, that's the
show me
thing,
your
right?
runs.
It's like, and also, what do you weigh more? Because like Bobby Witt, sorry, we're continuing this conversation. We'll get rid of this conversation in a second. But like, Bobby Witt's great at hitting, contact, fielding, running. Right, like that's
defense, obviously.
Yeah, fielding.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
And then it's like for Aaron Judge, I'm great at smacking homers. I'm great at driving in runs. I'm producing.
Yeah.
I'm a producer.
I mean, at the end of the day,
it's like
no argument that Aaron Judge is a better slugger than Bobby Witt Jr.
Exactly. Like he produces the most runs, and you need runs to win games.
Right.
You know?
Granted, 91 runs in baseball. He's getting them around the bases, Bobby Witt Jr. But that's where we're going to cap it, everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts about that in the comments down below. Let's talk about a contentious guy right here, man. Over there on the Chicago Shit Sox. This segment is going to be brought to you by Greta. Everybody, go check out Greta. Incredible bar located in downtown Toronto. Chicago Shit Sox, yeah. Incredible bar, games, recreational stuff. They play all the baseball games as well there. Just phenomenal. You want to go. My God, the Chicago White Sox are in a baseball hell right now. I think it was a week ago or 2 weeks ago I was talking about how I think that they might end up having the worst season of all time.
Looks like they might.
That they won't make it to 40 wins, which would then put them at the worst winning percentage of all time. And they are making a strong claim right now to go out and get that done.
Yeah, a solid 27-84. I said to Nick right before this. Imagine if that was flipped and a team was 84-27. You'd be thinking, "Holy shit, this is the best team I've ever seen in my entire fucking life." And there's still 2 months left of baseball.
Somebody let us know in the comments. Has anyone ever been 84-27 before? Like
probably, maybe. Someone let us know if any of those history guys out there. We're not too much history dudes, but that's fucking insane. Now it's the Chicago White Sox on the flip side of things, and what's getting me here too, not only just that record's fucking ass, they're 34 games out of a wild card spot. Dude, it's funny. They're 40 games out of their division lead.
Oh yeah,
that's fucked. Their run differential negative 229. How are you down that bad, bro? Like the worst team other than them, I think, is the Rockies at 175. Like negative 175. Yeah. That's ass. And then over on the Chicago Shit Sox, by the way, we're talking about trade deadlines. One of the biggest losers at the fucking deadline.
Oh, yeah.
Like they barely got any prospects in return. And what they should have done is traded Garrett Crochet, maybe Luis Robert Jr., but they didn't do that. I don't know why, if there was like a difference on the price. But for Crochet, you can make a strong argument that it was his whole, I need to be signed to the whatever team trades me or else I'm not going to pitch in the postseason. That apparently pissed off a lot of people, but Crochet doesn't think that was actually the case.
He's doubling down. He is doubling down on that. If you guys weren't familiar with that story, what transpired was prior to the trade deadline, Garrett Crochet saying, hey, listen, if I get traded, I need an extension or I'm not playing in the postseason, which, I mean, please let us know your thoughts about that down below. But, I mean, I think it's kind of crazy. His whole argument and his reasoning behind it was, I've never pitched this many innings before. Like, if I played in the postseason, that would be the most innings that I've ever pitched, and I'm worried about getting injured, and, if I get injured, then I won't get paid or get extended, which I fully understand, I appreciate. But that is also the risk that you have to take if you are a baseball player. And every single player out there that is not locked down to a 10-year extension is taking that risk every single time they step into the box or step onto the mound or get on the base pass and start running around. Like, every single one of them is taking that risk. To then go out and say that, well, if I get traded, I'm not going to play in the postseason when my team would need me the most, when everybody is counting on me for the sole reason that people traded for me, I'm not going to play in the playoffs unless I get extended. It's ridiculous. That's why nobody traded for him. And then to come out afterwards and then double down on it and say, you know what? I think a lot of people in the industry know where I'm coming from. I think a lot of people do, and they appreciate where you're coming from, but it doesn't make it right. And it doesn't mean that, anyone is going to give you that fucking extension now, because if they do, then they set a terrible, terrible precedent. At the end of the day, you got to go play good baseball. You haven't done enough to warrant saying that, in my opinion.
Yeah, the thing that rubs me wrong is the fact that every single fucking player is playing. Like you said, I'm doubling down on what you're saying because you kind of covered everything right there. Every single fucking player is risking injury. like that, he says right here, I think it may have come across as greedy to some, like him demanding that, but I think those in the industry realize it's logical to have that line of thinking. Sure, it's logical, but that's not professional baseball.
Yeah.
You're taking the risk. Like, I'm sorry. And the whole thing about innings, too, yes, I know Garrett Crochet, and there's people out there that know baseball way better than I do in terms of, like, keeping arm healthy, and especially nowadays when people are throwing upper 100 miles per hour. You really got to be careful of people's arms. But back, like, honestly, even 15 years ago, you saw people throw 130 pitches, 140 pitches. 20 years ago, people throwing 250 innings. I mean, fuck, there was pitchers out there that were throwing upper 90s, throwing 250 innings.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, okay, I get it. You want to protect yourself. Well, then it's like, I guess it's up to you to kind of protect yourself because that's the way that we're playing. If everyone started demanding contracts and saying, okay, well, I want to protect my arm because, you know, I'm very special and I'm valuable, well, then no one's going to want to fucking sign you because no one's going to have that much money. The Tampa Bay Rays would be out of business. You're going to fucking run those guys out of town. I mean, they're already starting to get out of town, but that's ridiculous.
Well, and let me say this as well. For a team that would be thinking about extending him, well, for me, if I'm the team that, you know, is going to do that, then I kind of want to see you pitch that many innings and not get injured.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know that you actually can do it because why would I extend you if you can't do that?
I got to shout out Talking Baseball who, you know, Trevor brought this up where he was like, or Trevor Plouffe, he was saying like, well, okay, well, whatever team that goes and gets him, I'm going to offer you a 4-year, $40 million extension, which you will, of course, probably turn down because you think you're worth more than that, and it only covers your RB years, maybe one extra. And then I'm going to go, oh, well, I offered you the extension because that's exactly what he was worth. He's not. That's a safe. I would offer him that extension. Hell yeah. Because that's a safe. Because, look, you have an injury history. You've only had one season as a starter, and you want to get paid now. Well, that's how much you're worth. It's ridiculous. I think, speaking of the show title, that is bad for baseball. We cannot let the players, especially pitchers, have that kind of control, because I'm glad no one traded for him and signed him, because if they did, that would set the bar now for any pitcher getting traded at the deadline, with any sort of any young pitcher getting traded at the deadline.
Also, just to your point about how, you know, back in the day people used to throw ridiculous amounts, I was looking at Nolan Ryan's career right now.
Elite.
1974, that guy threw 332.2 innings. That was after he threw 326 innings the year prior and 284 the year before that. And that guy threw upper 90s to 100. That's a real thing. That's a real thing that
topped
happened.
out at 100.8 miles per hour. That was his fastest one.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
So, Garrett, get your head out of your ass. And, well, actually, you can't now. I can assure you that you will not be making the playoffs right now because you are on the Chicago Shit Sox, who are on a 17-game losing streak right now at the time of recording this video.
Yeah, you're I hate to say that he's a loser. I mean, there's probably other people involved in there, but like whatever mentality that is, that's a loser mentality.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to lose more likely than not. Go ahead, finish the season with like a 2-11 record.
Well, let's talk about another one of the biggest losers right now.
Yes,
I know that we kind of want to get on these guys because
I love
you know,
getting
if
on
we're
losers.
going back to the trade deadline and the teams that needed to go out and make moves and sell off pieces and all that.
Yes.
Colorado Rockies. You know, you
Garbage.
are the second worst team in all of baseball, right? White Sox certainly have the number one down, but you are the second worst team in all of baseball. You barely do anything right now to sell off your pieces and replenish the farm system. And this is nothing new either, right? The Colorado Rockies management, I mean, in the last 5, 6, 7 years, they have just made a mockery of that baseball team. They pissed off Trevor Story to the point where he wanted to, leave and whatever. They pissed off Nolan Arenado to the point where he wanted to leave and get out of there. Then they signed Chris Bryant to the wildest deal of all time ever. No one knows why you paid him that much money, and he's barely played at all since you have done so. And then they went full ghost mode and have just really done nothing at all, and they barely did anything this trade deadline.
Yeah, why do you think they're continuing to be bad, Nick? Because they literally never replenished their farm system with anybody. This trade deadline, they had the greatest opportunity. You have Ryan McMahon. The New York Yankees would have paid you so much. You could have got Spencer Jones, I bet, for Ryan McMahon.
Potentially.
But great
And this isn't
player.
the first time that you've had the opportunity to
Nope.
trade Ryan
Nope.
McMahon. We've
Nope.
heard stuff in the offseason. We heard stuff last year, right? Like, this has been a conversation.
You could have had the best deadline. Elias Diaz, your catcher. I think it's Elias Diaz. You also had Kyle Quantrill come out of nowhere and be a good pitcher. Why not trade him? A good pitcher coming out of Colorado. He must be great anywhere else. Why aren't you trading him? And this is the reason why they're poverty. Here on the ESPN article, I disagree. This is probably my biggest disagree. They have him in the winners category, and the only reason whoever wrote this said, I don't know, maybe I'm just tired of hammering on the Rockies all the time. They got one. They made one trade. They got Bradley Bullock from the Brewers, and they traded away Nick Mears, who's having a horrible season. Like, sure, that's great trade, but is Bullock gonna save your team? No. You got to make way more moves, man. The Rockies will continue to be a poverty franchise for many, many years.
Yeah. It's just like it's not good over there. Like I'm looking at their squad right now, and I mean they do have a decent amount of controllable players, like Brenton Doyle and Ezekiel Tovar and all that stuff.
Tovar's good. That was a good extension. I actually like that.
Yeah. Tovar's nice, right? But there's absolutely players here that you could have moved, you could have got something back for, and they just refuse to do it, man. So I mean, the Colorado Rockies, once again, it feels like there's kind of a cancer over there in that management. Maybe them more than anyone, more than the Marlins, more than the White Sox are pretty bad, but like just the inability to do anything, and then when you do have good players, like you piss them off and they want to leave, and I don't know, you've had the same problem now forever. Figure it out. Figure it out.
It was also kind of a loser, and I'm really sad they didn't make any moves, and this was probably because there was talks of a cap issue, but a salary issue. They were kind of struggling right now. They had to cut some salaries. They're really worried about that. So maybe that's why they didn't go make any moves. But regardless, the Minnesota Twins. You want to hear the one guy they fucking got this trade deadline?
Yeah,
Trevor Richards.
That's it. That's the one player?
Yeah, I mean that's all. They're saying on this article. They highlighted Trevor Richards. Minnesota did pick up reliever Trevor Richards very late in the trade window. That's basically deserves a shrug emoji. That's it.
Wow.
I
was not aware that was the only thing that they did.
I could be wrong, ladies and gentlemen,
terrible.
but that's all they're mentioning. If I'm looking right here,
is terrible.
They sent away one prospect, which is the one we got for Trevor Richards, and they didn't receive any, of course, because they weren't selling. But that's it.
For those of you who don't know, Trevor Richards is not good.
He's got a negative WAR this year.
He's got a negative WAR.
ERA.
He's completely fallen off the table.
He was great at one point, but yeah, he's an expiring contract next year, or like this offseason. That's it. And
that's abysmal.
And for a team who's second in the AL Central, the Guardians are looking very, very nice, but you're probably competing for the wild card. I mean, you got it right now, but the Boston Red Sox can come in. The Mariners are trying to come back. It's abysmal. It's one of those things where, again, they always do this for whatever fucking reason. They never buy in heavy at the deadline, and they always flop. And only getting Trevor Richards?
No, that's
dude.
I kind of look at that as a negative.
You added a negative 0.4 WAR.
Legitimately, I don't see that helping you at all. I mean, the Toronto Blue Jays didn't even want this guy, right?
No.
We
had a bet that we'd even get a guy back.
Yeah, and I mean, the guy that they traded away to get Trevor Richards is effectively the biggest no-name that you've ever heard of. His name is Jay Harry. He's not a top 30 prospect. He will probably never come up to MLB ever. He might make it to AA, right? So that is I was not aware that that's the only thing that the Minnesota Twins did. That is really, really bad. Like, that's just, it's unacceptable, honestly. Like, if you're a Minnesota Twins fan, and again, I'm not completely aware of their entire financial situation because I know that they had something going on with their TV deal in the offseason, all that shit, whatever. But if I'm a Minnesota Twin fan, like, guys, we finally won a playoff game, a playoff series this past year against the Toronto Blue. We finally, it was like a 17, 18-year drought or something like it was a wild drought, wild time.
You finally did it.
You finally did it. Like, are we not going to continue to build here?
Yeah.
Why?
I think it might have been the money thing. If that was it, then that's, again, it comes down to another problem, which is just just baseball, and also they had the whole TV deal thing fall out in the off season. So like maybe they're really starting to feel the effects of it. And if that's the case, then it's like, well, this is your window, and this kind of sucks.
It does. It absolutely
for them.
sucks, man. Like you just gotta do. You got to do more.
You got to do more.
With all that being said, the trade deadline broken down, we're now at this place with roughly 50 to 60 games remaining before the postseason. We feel we do know these squads at this point. We know who you are. We know your identities. Where is your money going for a World Series? Give me the matchup. You don't need to tell me who wins, but give me the matchup. Where's your money going?
I think if I'm gonna put money somewhere, it's got to be somewhere in the NL. I really, really love the Phillies.
It's tough not to love
the Phillies. Like Dodgers, I obviously they're a juggernaut and everything like that, but there's a lot of holes in their rotation right now. I'm not really loving that. Phillies feel like an extremely complete team. Like they didn't really do too much at the deadline. They just picked up some relievers. They picked up an outfielder, Hayes, who's just an average bat, but they didn't need to. And it just feels like they've been there before. They're ready to come back. This feels like it's destined to be. I think whoever wins the World Series it's going to be the Phillies. I want to obviously give a shout to the Orioles because their roster's stacked, but they did get swept last year. They didn't win a single playoff game, so I need to see a little bit of fight for them when the lights are bright for this team. But the Phillies, like they're nothing but fight. They shine under the fucking lights.
Yeah,
and it feels like they're ready to go back and do it again. Like, cause I look around the AL. I love Houston. Don't get me wrong, but it's like they had a weird year. And then Cleveland, it's like, how are you gonna do? Are you gonna make a nice little run? Yankees kind of fall off. So for me, it feels like Phillies are the locked-in favorite.
If I had to bet my life on it, I probably would also go with the Philadelphia Phillies. I just feel like they're built top to bottom. They have a playoff-ready rotation. You got star power, all over everywhere.
All over.
So they are, for me, absolutely the favorite at this point. I do need to give a minor shout-out here to the San Diego Padres, who've kind of captured a little bit of magic in a bottle right there. They're 9-1 in their last 10, man. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They're starting to cook. Bogarts is healthy now, and he's actually finally showing up. Thank God for my fantasy team. But they were active at the trade deadline. They made a couple moves. They brought some guys in.
Oh, yeah.
Padres have always been that squad. Like, I feel like we forget about the San Diego Padres because, they were that new and exciting team, and everyone thought that they were going to go really far, and they just never really were able to get over the hump. I'm not saying that they're going to do it this season, but they're cooking. They're cooking with gas right now, and I would not be shocked to see them make a bit of a run.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it was actually kind of disappointing, not to get completely off topic, with the Atlanta Braves, man.
Oh, it's so disappointing. They were so disappointing.
This deadline, they were kind of disappointing. They needed rotation up. They didn't get it. Yeah, you got Soler, but he's like, I'm not going to fix your team. I mean, he did it in the past, but I'm not going to fix your team. Your whole team's kind of fucking struggling right now with the bats. So, yeah, I mean, so for me, when I look at them, like the San Diego Padres and the Atlanta Braves, like I like the Padres better than the Braves.
Absolutely.
Which is nuts.
Absolutely. I
never thought I'd say that before.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, yeah, I feel like the winner is going to come from the NL. Let's give it the AL a little love because I know they're kind of weird. Who are the AL? I mean, it feels like it's destined to be for me personally, I think it would be like a Cleveland-Houston kind of world ALCS because, again, Baltimore, love them. I got to see it first because it's kind of like banking on the Blue Jays to win a playoff game. It's like I haven't seen it at all. I'm not saying this season, but like in the past. Like you got to see it first, right? So Houston feels like they're on their way back there. Cleveland feels like they just continue to mow down teams with their game, and I'm thinking like maybe one of those guys.
I like Cleveland a lot. However, I do think that the baby Orioles are just. I feel like they're going to do it. I don't know if they're going to win the World Series this year because I think that you got to go step by step. Last year they made it to the dance. Everyone was shocked to even see them there in the first place. I mean, I think they won 100 and some odd games last year, and everyone was like, "Whoa!" I think even they were caught off guard. They're like, "What are we doing
here?"
We
get swept.
Now they're walking in with a mission. They're like, "We do belong here. We are a good team. We played well all season long." I don't know if they're going to win the World Series, but I certainly think that they're going to make it very, very far this year. And let's face it. I mean, with this regime of players, we made the same mistake with the Toronto Blue Jays. But with this regime of players, with Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson, and now Jackson Holiday up, and maybe he gets cooking, there will be a ring at some point in their future.
Yeah, like because there's no denying their offense is stacked.
It's incredible.
It's great, but you need to have pitching, and the bullpen isn't as great as it was in the past year. They did go add Eflin and they add Trevor Richards, but they're not. They're just solid rotation fillers. They obviously have Corbin Burns. That's your game 1 starter. Grayson Rodriguez probably game 2. But then after that, it's like, okay, who do we have? So I think that's going to test them a little bit, especially Grayson Rodriguez. Still a young guy. Like, well, how are you going to pitch in the postseason? Yeah. So, again, for me, I like him, but you gotta have them believe in themselves. That they can do it under the lights.
Folks, let us know your thoughts about the winners, the losers, who is going to make it into the dance after this MLB trade deadline, everybody. Lots of transpiring stuff this past week in baseball, so definitely exciting. And now it's time to buckle down and watch until October.
Yeah, good thing we can watch and talk about other teams, Nick, because I do not want to watch the Buffalo Blue Jays.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no, man. It is bad over there in Toronto. Folks, if you haven't already done so, please make sure to hit the like, smash the subscribe button, comment your thoughts down below about anything that we talked about today. We shall see you next Thursday.
Cheers.